Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted that number 1 would be Sonic the Hedgehog 3, number 2 would be Mufasa the Lion King, number 3 would be Moana 2, number 4 would be Wicked, and number 5 would be Craven the Hunter. Man, started off so good, got the first 2 right, and then the rest just, fell apart, and it was, entirely to do with something that I predicted to eventually happen. I just, for some reason, didn't think it would happen this weekend. Some of you did get your predictions right here, your shoutouts right now. Congratulations on being way smarter than I was this weekend when making these. So let's just dive into it. Well, I also want to address really quickly, normally, sometimes, every once in a while, I feel like I have all the info as far as the box office stats, but then, the site will update whatever, throw a curveball in, something I missed, whatever. I did not see Red One on thenumbers.com or Box Office Mojo, and I know it just hit Amazon Prime, right? It's streaming for Amazon Prime members, but it is still, I checked some of my local theater, it is still playing there. It's lost theaters obviously since it's debuted, but it is still playing in some. And it was like not high in the top 10, but it was still like pretty, it had a prominent spot, like number 7, 8, something like that. Like it was still kind of clinging on. So if it updates later and Red One is in the top 10, then oops, I didn't write it down. Honestly, I waited so long to press record on this camera because I was like, what if Red One's there? So if it literally, if I stop recording and I go and check, I'm not going to add it in if it's on there. You know what I mean? In a way, it's kind of fitting, because, it's where it's always meant to be now on streaming, where it was designed to be in the first place. Thus, being a thing that I shouldn't even be talking about in this, because it shouldn't be in theaters. Anyways, let's go over what happened in the overall top 10. Number 1 was, of course, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I predicted it. A lot of people predicted that to happen, that this was going to be the favorable one to win the weekend. This is not really a surprise. I did want to go over some things really quick before we do the comparison with Mufasa. It got $62 million for its domestic opening weekend. It did release in a couple other territories, but there aren't any significant increases in the worldwide total as of right now. Of course, like I was kind of saying with Red One, sometimes I wait as long as possible to get as many stats as I can, so I can record it on Sunday, which is usually like a good day for me to do this. These numbers that I'm talking about, the worldwide ones, that can probably come out tomorrow, and then, this video is outdated. But I just wanted to let you know now, at the very least, I don't have that, so we're just going off of the domestic ones here, on a production budget of $122 million, and the budgets for each film have steadily gone up, not like drastically. Like the first one cost $80 million, now the second one costs $250. Like they've gone up pretty reasonably. So, they've done a good job, budgeting, being very smart about that. And even though we don't have any worldwide numbers domestically, this is a really solid start. And since, it's got great word of mouth from, kids and fans of the video game series, fans of these movies at least, and the holiday season is, fast approaching. We're 3 days away from Christmas at the moment of me recording this, 3, 2, whenever it goes up. This is going to carry over, obviously. This is going to be, I think, a holiday favorite. I think it has the strong word of mouth and the momentum, and it's a family film, so you can, take the whole family to go see it, based on something very popular. So despite the fact that I'm about to say, as far as opening weekends, and we're just looking at the Sonic movies, it had an opening weekend 4 million over the first film, but 10 million below Sonic 2. I don't know if that's like cause for alarm or anything. This is pretty, like, they're in line with each other. This is pretty consistent, nothing too drastic here. But I'm just saying, as far as like the opening weekends, I don't think that's normally I think maybe we'd be able to speculate more, but this is, I think, just more along the lines of, well, we're about to enter the onslaught of holiday moviegoers. This probably won't matter. We will see, where it goes. Right now it's 84 million away from outgrossing the original film. We'll see how long it takes to get to that, and then the second one. And then once the worldwide numbers come in, we'll do comparisons for that. I wanted to look at video game lists as well. This is in the top 5 openings ever. It's in between the 2 Sonic movies, like I mentioned, so that places it number 4. Number 2, the highest grossing opening weekend for a video game movie, that would be FNAF. Five Nights at Freddy's is 80 million, and then number 1 is, of course, Mario, 146. Last year was the big record makers for video game movie opening weekends, and then the Sonic movies just take up the bottom of the top 5. Even though at the very least the Sonic movies are way better than the FNAF one, I will say that for you. And then as far as like where it ranks overall, it did outgross Resident Evil Afterlife by 2 million, and now needs 3 million until it outgrosses Lara Croft Cradle of Life. It's in between number 20 and number 10, so it's making its way up already, as it should. Like I said, it's pleasing a lot of people out there. So we're off to a really solid start here. It'll get more exciting and more interesting as the weeks go on to see how well it does over the holidays. This is just, I think, a pretty easy prediction that this is just going to continue to hold over well. And then number 2 is Mufasa the Lion King. I wanted to get like the stats, like a little bit more in-depth kind of analysis out of the way, to do the immediate like compare and contrast here, because I was kind of thinking it could be a tight race, and I think a lot of people were thinking that too. I think some people even predicted that Mufasa would pull ahead just based off of how incredibly well the 2019 remake did. This movie opened to 35 million on its opening weekend. Now, at the very least, this does have some worldwide totals. It is sitting at 122 million right now. The budget so far is listed at 200 million. The 2019 one allegedly cost 260, so this movie could very well cost 200 million, but take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes we don't necessarily know with some of these bigger blockbusters. So it's not like a horrible opening, and like I even mentioned for Sonic, I want to be fair here. We're about to get the onslaught of the holiday season. A lot more people might be interested to see this movie and to keep going to see it. We might get to a doubling point as far as the 200 million initial production budget, so it could be like totally fine, right? But that being said, goddamn, as far as like falls from grace, let's look at the 2019. I don't care about comparing it to the stats of the animated film. I don't even care about like saying like, yeah, this is Barry Jenkins' highest grossing film, but at what cost? You know what I mean? I just want to look at the 2019 remake. As far as opening weekends, it is 156 million below what the remake made in its 3-day opening weekend. And as far as the overall domestic gross, it needs 508 million to catch up to that. Worldwide, it needs 1,539 million, give or take, to outgross the 2019 one worldwide. There's no matter what kind of like holiday onslaught, people still interested to see it over Christmas and New Year's, there's no fucking way that this movie, that was initially estimated to be at least neck and neck with Sonic, that is now almost dropped about half of what Sonic made. There is no way it's going to have that momentum. I feel like the critical response, not to, look so in depth at the cinema scores, right? A- for Mufasa, A for Sonic 3. I mean, that is 1 point of a difference. You know what I mean? And I just feel like as far as like the momentum, the hype around Mufasa, it's just not really there for like kids. But Sonic, fuck yeah. Like, I checked the Fandango maps. The Sonic screenings in my local theaters were damn near sold out, very packed. And the Mufasa ones, a lot of open seats. You know what I mean? Like, people going, but just a lot of open seats. Like, you could sneak into that theater and not really have a problem if you play your cards right? That's where we're at with this. Jesus fucking Christ. I think some people were even like, this is going to be, what is this, Sufasa or Monarch, trying to do like the Barbenheimer for Sonic and Mufasa. Once again, not to bring up Glickit, but it just seems like, the only movie that's benefiting from this is going to be Sonic at the end of the day. Meanwhile, Mufasa is like, similar to Mufasa in the movie, hanging on by the cliffside, waiting to get tossed off by Scar. Jesus Christ. Look, man. This is crazy. Just the fall from, like, yeah, you made $1 billion, that 2019 remake, and now what it's led to is people not giving so much of a shit that they don't go see the prequel, you know what I mean? Like, they would rather go see Sonic, which the first movie didn't come out that much longer after the first one, like a couple months different. It wasn't even a full year. The fact that, like, Sonic has been able to, like, keep up the momentum with, new films, and say what you will about the Knuckles TV show, but at least, they kept it going, and then The Lion King has just been like, I don't know, we made that remake, and they sat on doing anything else with it, and now they do this, like a prequel that has some elements of a sequel, but the word of mouth, like, the kind of response that remake got, even though it grossed $1 billion, was a lot of people, even people who might have even liked it, kind of going like, yeah, it's not as good as the first movie, and yeah, it might have looked a little weird at parts. No, man, that's the legacy of these goddamn live action remakes. Jesus fucking Christ. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Let's move on to number 3, which is Wicked. Yeah, I the thing I predicted that Wicked could overtake Moana's spots in the top 10. It happened, and I thought maybe it would happen next weekend, but here we are. Wicked, it made 13.5 million, adding to a domestic total of 383 million. For musicals domestically, it is still 17 million away from outgrossing Frozen. For the year 2024, it did outgross Despicable Me 4 by 22 million. It's now sitting behind Deadpool and Wolverine by 253 million. Even with the sing-along editions getting released next weekend, I don't know if it has the exact momentum to make 253 million, but I mean, stranger things have happened here, especially with a potential Oscar campaign going here. As of right now, though, it is in the top 3 highest grossing domestic runs of the entire year. Worldwide, it is sitting at 571 million, so for musical films, it has outgrossed The New Little Mermaid by 2 million. It's sitting behind Original Recipe Mamma Mia by 13 million now. It is number 8 highest grossing worldwide for musicals. 2024, it has outgrossed Kung Fu Panda 4, another 4th animated film, by 24 million, and it outgrossed Godzilla and Kong by 3 million. It's sitting behind Dune 2 by 136 million. So worldwide, it's taken a little bit more to keep adding more to it. It's kind of slowly kind of inching up there. So it could have the momentum to get that 136 million, but as of right now, it is the number 6 highest grossing worldwide run, for the year. So that's pretty great. It's broken all these records, it's surpassed all these other movies, and it could keep going if it had the momentum, but at this point, they've already done a fantastic job with their run, you know what I mean? If they get 29 million more, they will quadruple that initial production budget of 150 million, so they're on the right track as far as that goes. The sequel's already been shot and is coming out, so it's not like they, are sweating too much, you know what I mean? And then number 4, let's just dive into it, Moana 2, the one that got usurped by Wicked this weekend. Not too far behind. It made 13.1 million, so it's not too far behind, but it definitely is not looking good, especially because, last weekend we were talking about how worldwide Moana 2 has the edge over Wicked. It has 790 million to its name. That is still the champion as far as the overall numbers. It doesn't have the same momentum as worldwide here domestically, so it's sitting at 359 million in total for its domestic run. Either way, though, and look, both of these movies are a success. They both cost around 150 million, so either way they are, both doing. I guess technically you could say Moana 2 is more profitable when you look at the overall gross worldwide. It's just domestically, it's just, for me, it's just cool to see it kind of, differ from, the worldwide numbers. Just because one movie can be ahead in one place, like domestically, for example, doesn't mean that worldwide it is sitting in the same kind of high regard, and I just find that fascinating, right? Anyway, so domestically for Disney Animation, it outgrows Zootopia by 18 million. It is sitting behind Frozen, the first one, by 41 million. It probably has the momentum to catch up to that just by a little bit, so as of right now, though, it is in the top 3 highest grossing runs for Disney Animation domestically. For the year 2024, it is still sitting behind Despicable Me 4, this time by 2 million, so it's number 5 for highest grossing domestic runs of the year. So worldwide, like we mentioned, 790 million. It has not outgrossed any of the movies it's been sitting behind before. For Disney Animation, it needs 235 million until it outgrosses Zootopia, and then for the year 2024, it needs 179 million until it outgrosses Despicable Me 4. So still in the same 4 spots for both lists as it was last weekend. But like we've discussed, it's made bank, and and they're good. It might not get a Best Animated Feature nom at the Oscars just based off of, they go with 5, and it just seems like the front runners right now at the very least are Memoir of a Snail, Inside Out 2, Wild Robot, the Wallace and Gromit Netflix movie, and Flow, and this one is kind of like, it could get in there, and maybe, I mean, it still could just based off of box office success, but it also just seems like the word of mouth, outside of, it was a TV series that was then repurposed into a film, also just, they outsourced the animation to a different studio in, was it Canada? Somewhere in Canada, I'm pretty sure, so they could, pay a lower rate to its animators, which might mean that they also, crunch some of them, and who fucking knows. Either way, though, I don't know if the positive word of mouth around it, especially with people mostly kind of going like, yeah, it's nowhere near as good as the first movie, could get it in there. So it's not a winner in that regard, but financially it made bank. Could go the Frozen 2 route where, yeah, they make this money, but, no nominations for you. Number 5 is Homestead, another Angel Studios movie. Man, we just got rid of Bonhoeffer, and now we got Homestead. This one made $6 million. I don't have a production budget here. There's no worldwide totals. It just has $6 million to its name. As far as Angel Studios, it's their 4th best opening, $1 million over Bonhoeffer and After Death, but it's $1 million below Cabrini, $2 million below the thing I mentioned with when Bonhoeffer came out. The numbers might be fucking this up, and I just think it's funny. I'm not going to change it. 2 million below The Chosen episodes Who Gives a Shit, I don't remember, and I'm not writing it down, and 13 million below Sound of Freedom's opening weekend. So it's technically their 4th best, but multiple periods after that. It needs 1 million until it outgrosses Sight, the documentary. Was that a documentary? I don't know. These all blend together. Who gives a fuck? Let's move on. I don't care anymore. Let's move on to number 6, which is Gladiator II, making 4 million, adding to a domestic total of 153 million. No momentum on this one, at least in the domestic one. Needs 34 million until it outgrosses the original film still, and more importantly 12 million until Hannibal. So it's still number 4 for Ridley's domestic runs. Worldwide it is sitting at 416, so it did outgross Prometheus here by 14 million, and it is now behind the original Gladiator by 35, so it is in Ridley's top 3 highest grossing worldwide runs of all time. Congrats, my guy. But like I said, with little momentum and me kind of saying the same stuff about it over and over again these past couple weeks, I think we can all move on to the thing we really want to dogpile on. Number 7, Craven the Hunter, with a 72% drop, making 3.1 million, adding to a domestic total of 17 million. Domestically, that is 26 million away from Madam Web. Worldwide, it is sitting at 42 million, which is 58 million away from Madam Web. Some people are saying this is going to be the rare instance where a comic book film doesn't even get past 100 million worldwide, which is it's odd to think that Madam Web at least did that, you know. And then Craven the Hunter, you know, Sony has sullied these fucking movies so much that Craven the Hunter is now like getting lost in the holiday shuffle. That's what I was kind of thinking, like, did they release this at a time where it could carry over a little bit? Nah, man, it dropped really bad. When a fucking Angel Studios movie that, you know, most people probably have not heard of can sneak up over a Marvel movie in its 2nd weekend, yeah, man, come on. And then, hey, you know what, Craven, it's not in a dissimilar boat from our number 8, which is The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. It's just, I think more people expected this one to not perform that well box office-wise. Either way, though, this one also had about a 72% drop, making 1.2 million. Man, both last weekend's new releases just dropping out of here like dead flies. 1.2 million, adding to a domestic total of 7.3. Worldwide, it is sitting at 15.3 million. I could bring up the large amount of money it needs to outgross the other films. Like domestically, it still needs 248 million until Battle of the Five Armies, and then worldwide, it needs 879 million until Fellowship of the Ring. I could bring those up, and I just did. But the biggest thing here is that you just have to look at the budget, 30 million. They've made 15.3 in total. They still need to double what they have put into the film. Yeah, it's just a failed experiment. Unfortunately, you know, it could have been cool to see more like IPs embrace animation or anime, you know what I mean? I just think this one in particular, the word got around that it wasn't particularly good or like the best one to see. Like, I feel like a lot of people were just kind of like, if they did like it, they were like, it's fine, you know? Oh, man. Anyways, number 9 is the best Christmas pageant ever, making 825,000, adding to a domestic total of 38 million. So for Kingdom Story Company, 14 million away from Jesus Revolution. Every time I talk about goddamn this movie, you know, it's like, well, it's inching closer to Jesus Revolution. It's not going to get there, but either way, it's ending off in the top 2. Congrats. And then number 10, Queer, still here, which is fun. The Brutalist is at number 11. Or if Red One is actually added in here, then all of these could be shifted. But like I already said it before, doesn't matter anymore. Who gives a shit? Queer made 364,000, adding to a domestic total of 2.8 million. And then worldwide bumped up a little bit to 3.2. So how about that for you? Suck it, Red One. And now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. This will be interesting. I don't know if Baby Girl will have the traction to get into the top 5, but I am wondering what A Complete Unknown and Nosferatu can do exactly. The Wicked sing-along edition releases, it's coming out at a time where it's not like it's going back to like it's, you know, been dominating theaters for a little bit, you know, even though it's been out over a month at this point. But so I don't know if those will like make a significant, you know, increase. So my predictions will be that number 1 is Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Number 2, Mufasa the Lion King. And then number 3, I think, will be a complete unknown. Number 4, Nosferatu. And then number 5, Wicked. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.